Okay.
We will go on the record in the matter 26 CF 20, State of Wisconsin versus David Stranky. The state appears through Assistant District Attorney Jose Vila in person. We have Miss Emma Hanu, Defense Counsel in person with Mr. Stranky. We're set today for a status, but we had forewarned notice that this could potentially be a plea in sentencing, and that is what it is. Miss Hanu, do you have a plea questionnaire waiver of rights form?
I do, Your Honor, if I may approach.
You may, please. Thank you.
I wanted to recite the agreement.
Sorry, I was just trying to figure out how much cash we have.
No worries, Your Honor. The joint recommendation by the parties would be for Mr. Stranky to plead to an amended count 1 of simple possession of methamphetamine without the repeater for costs. And as we get to the argument stage, I can further relay to the court why that would be the case.
All right. And that's the agreement, Mr. Stranky?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Vila, that's the agreement that the state has reached?
Yes, Your Honor.
Formal motion to remove the repeater?
So made.
Granted. Mr. Stranky, I have in front of me the plea questionnaire waiver of rights form. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did your attorney thoroughly go over the document with you?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
Word for word?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand everything on that document?
Everything, Your Honor.
And that's your signature?
It is my honor, Your Honor.
You're pleading guilty to possession of methamphetamine simple, 36 years old. You can read, write, you understand the English language with a high school diploma or equivalent. All correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You are going through AODA treatment?
Yes, I just got enrolled, but it's been a work in progress, but it's, I'm trying to get stuff paid for and make sure I stay up on my child support and everything. So it's been, but it took a little while to get the $125 for the initial assessment, but yeah, I finally got it. So I start classes next week. So.
All right. And that's really good to hear. It's only $125?
Yeah, because I had a recommendation from probation. I asked them, I said, man, I can't do 250. I said, can you meet me halfway or something? I said, I'm not fighting the fact that, I have an issue. I was like, I'm trying to get help, but I was like, I just can't go back to my old ways to do it. I said, so.
I'm glad it cost you less. I'm glad you're not trying to go back to your old ways to get the money to do it. And I'm glad you are enrolled in substance abuse counseling and treatment.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. And so did your attorney thoroughly go over your constitutional rights with you?
She did, Your Honor.
So and you understand all of those rights?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you need me to go over those rights with you in any more detail?
No, Your Honor.
You understand that once you plead guilty, you're waiving and giving up those rights?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if you're not a citizen of the United States, your plea could result in your deportation?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand that here the state would have to prove on or around February 23rd, 2026, you possessed a substance. The substance was a controlled substance, methamphetamine, and you knew or believed that substance to be a controlled substance, methamphetamine. Do you understand what the state would have to prove?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand the maximum possible penalty could be a fine of up to $10,000 or 3.5 years of incarceration or both?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand that the recommendation, a joint recommendation to the court for a sentencing option would be costs only? But do you understand I'm not bound to follow that?
I do, Your Honor.
I could sentence you to that maximum penalty if I thought it was warranted?
I do, Your Honor.
Now, did you go over that criminal complaint with your attorney? And that's that original charging document where it basically says what happened that day and why you were charged with the crime. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. I vaguely remember, but yeah.
February 23rd, when you possessed a substance, the methamphetamine, and a summary of what has occurred. You're looking at the document right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so looking at that document, would you say that for the most part, those facts alleged there as it relates to possessing that methamphetamine, they're accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hanu, may the court use the probable cause section of the criminal complaint to find a factual basis?
So stipulated.
Has anyone made any threats or any promises to you, Mr. Stranky, for you
No,
to
Your
plead
Honor.
guilty?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You're doing so freely and intelligently. That means you're telling me you fully understand what you're doing
I do, Your Honor.
and voluntarily.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has your attorney represented you competently?
Yes, Your Honor.
She's answered all of your questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has she looked at this matter thoroughly?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with her services?
I am, Your Honor.
Any questions for the court or your attorney before I proceed?
No, Your Honor.
As to the amended count 1, possession of methamphetamine, simple, how do you wish to plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Court will find your plea of guilt is done knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. I'm going to find you understand your constitutional rights, what it means to waive and give up those rights. I'm going to find a factual basis to accept your plea of guilt. Based on that, I will find you guilty of the amended count. Judgment of conviction will be entered today. Mr. Vila, argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stranky is here taking responsibility for his actions. This is a substance abuse issue that reared its ugly head, unfortunately for him. He seems to realize that he does need to pursue treatment. As a result of this case going the way that it did, he did receive a DOC sanction for 30 days, and he is still going to be on he is going to be on probation for at least the next 18 months after this case is concluded. As such, I think costs are the more appropriate option for this case. Thank you.
Ms. Fanu.
Yes, Your Honor. As a result of this, Mr. Stranky did sit a 30-day sanction with recommendations from probation to enter into AODA treatment. As the court has heard, he has worked very hard to get the money and actually get that set up and is following through. He has his appointment next week. As for protection of the public, he is going to be on probation in another case for at least 18 months. I think also not putting him on more probation saves resources and saves time for people who may need more supervision than Mr. Stranky. Mr. Stranky is employed, he is working, and frankly, Your Honor, he looks great. He's doing really well. I think cost is appropriate here. Not only is it another felony conviction on his record, but there is fines and fees, and he is employed and he will continue to be employed.
All right, Mr. Stranky, anything you want to add? You want to let me know?
I just wanted to apologize for not being punctual, missing my last court date, and I really intended to be here, and I just wanted to apologize on that end and everything to everybody, because I hate wasting anybody's time. So, and it was just a miscommunication on my end, so I apologize. So.
Well, Mr. Stranky, I'm glad to see you here and apologizing. You're taking responsibility not only for the possession of the methamphetamine, but for your failing to come to court and messing up and owning it. So I appreciate that. I know you.
Asterisk, this case is a reminder that not every felony sentencing ends with a harsh prison term. The court looked beyond the meth possession itself and focused on something just as important: accountability. David admitted his mistake, accepted responsibility for missing court, and, most importantly, showed concrete steps toward recovery through treatment and sobriety. That doesn't erase the conviction or its lifelong consequences, including the permanent loss of firearm rights, but it clearly influenced the judge's decision. What do you think? Should courts place more emphasis on rehabilitation when someone is actively trying to turn their life around? Or should a felony conviction always carry tougher punishment?
I don't know you super well. You've only been in front of me, I think, once or twice, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're a hard worker. I remember that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you are trying to get everything in place and to put the yellow brick road there so you can follow it and you can take charge and you can take control of your sobriety.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one who can do that. I'm very glad to hear that you were able to get the AODA assessment at a reduced cost. I want to say I'm glad that you're on probation. I'd rather you not be on probation. But that'll come, and it'll come with more work and harder work towards your sobriety. And hopefully you're going to be able to do that and find your path and just hit it hard and continue with your AODA assessments and treatment. Have you been to any inpatient residential treatments?
Yep. So last year around November, I think, is when I went to the BART house up in Barnett. So I went up there, and then I did it's supposed to be like a 70-day program. I graduated in 55 because one of the fellow classmates or whatever they call them, you know, I mean, like bunkmates or whatever, you got in an altercation with the guy that comes in or that did come in and do AA, you know. So like he'd come to the bar house and do AA on Fridays, and for some reason this dude had a problem with him or whatever. They got in an altercation. Well, and long story short, I just took over running AA, you know. So I graduated like 12 days early, and you know,
That's great.
I mean, I figured I'm be there anyways, you know, for the duration. So I was like, well, there's no point in making it so nobody can graduate because I mean, that's part of the curriculum. So I was just like, well, we can piss and moan about it all we wanted, but you know, unless somebody steps up and does something about it, it ain't gonna change.
That's great that you took charge, you took control, and you went above and beyond. And that's showing me and telling me that you can do this. You just have to get back to those things that you learned and back to the sharing and expressing that with other people, the back to going to the AA meetings and or leading your own. Because the more you're involved, the more your sobriety, you'll take charge and it'll solidify and you won't have to worry about methamphetamine controlling you anymore.
Yeah, when I started doing the AA group, like the night that I got in that altercation or whatever, there's like 2 guys that came out of 10, and I was like, I said, what better do you guys got to do besides come down and talk about our addiction for an hour? I was like, I mean, besides the fact that you're going to still be here if you don't. I mean, for one, but I said, we all have issues or whatever. I said, it's not like we have to make it a topic meeting and make it by the book or whatever. I mean, like, obviously you kind of go through the 12 steps or whatever, but it can be whatever's on your mind, you know, and then that could be the thing that keeps you from relapsing, you know, is just having somebody that's willing to talk to you about it or listen.
That is definitely right on point, Mr. Stranky. I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud of the steps that you're taking.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think that the agreement is appropriate. So $500 cash. I'm gonna sentence you to 30 days of jail. That's time served. You sat it.
Okay.
You might as well get the credit for it, right?
Right.
So I'm sentencing you to 30 days, time served, $500 cash. You have that posted. You're good to go because you missed court, so you had to post it.
Yep.
Well, actually, I'm waiving $18 actually. So then we're all good to go.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about $18.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have 20 days to appeal. Should you fail to appeal within 20 days, you lose that right. You're pleading to a felony. As such, you can no longer use or possess a firearm for life. I do need your DNA. So when you're done here, you're going to need to go to the jail and just make sure that they have it. And so they'll swab you if they don't. If they do, they'll send you on your way.
Okay.
You have the right to request it be expunged through a written letter to the Department of Justice, the Wisconsin Department of Justice, not to me